It is that time of the week again for the Dustin LeBleu CEO podcast. I am Austin Ray, and as per usual, I am joined by the man himself,
Dustin LeBleu. I'm here, man. Thanks for saying my name. I'll say it as well. And, we got some cool topics today. We just got one topic, but,
Really, we've got one topic. And for us, we're going to say cool. But I think when other people hear this, they're going to be like, damn, that's depressing.
Yeah, I don't think it's like so much depressing. I think it's just the truth. And that's what these people need to hear is the truth.
Exactly. And guys, the topic today is going to be the kind of like the obvious point of being an entrepreneur. It's lonely. I mean, plain and simple, you don't really get much social interaction in your startup as an entrepreneur. You're not going to be, constantly on the streets with a posse surrounding you. And I think there's a lot of disconnect there because of what people see from like Facebook ads of, hey, if you do this, you can have this whole group of people.
Want to be an entrepreneur, man? You're gonna have a Ferrari, and you're gonna have this and that, and that's how it is.
Knowledge, bro. But Dustin, let's take it from the top. We got 3 points here with some sub points on them, and first one that you hit me with was people just do not relate.
No, man, that's the thing, and I thought about this last night when we were coming up with the topic for this. I was like, man, entrepreneurship. Like I was sitting there by myself at night, just like it's kind of fucking lonely, man. People don't relate to you. Like when I go home, like I'm wanting to, work. I'm wanting to work. It's just what I like to do. I don't really watch TV and things like that. And like what, a normal person doesn't really relate to that. So who wants to go hang out with somebody that constantly wants to work? It's pretty boring, right?
This is that situation where I'll say yes, but at the same time, I can't really say yes because in essence I do have a side of that in me, and I guess the best way to put it would be kind of like the first sub point for that is just most people, they don't get why you like to work. See, for me, like I understand it,
right?
But most other people, like let's go with like a made up percentage here because those are always cool and do really good. And people then are going to quote you.
I love these quoted
like fake percentages.
Yeah, fake percentages, like
okay,
99.9%.
Yeah, except we're going to go with like 95.46% of people.
Okay.
They don't understand why you like to work. Like they don't have the same drive, the same ambition. No one is going to be wired the same.
No, everybody's wired different, and I'm like just from childhood wired that way, So I think not to get onto like later topics in the in this podcast, but it just is lonely in the fact that you're not gonna have somebody come over and want to watch TV where I don't really want to watch TV. I'm sitting there staring at walls and thinking about the next project and what am I gonna do next and things like that. To where it's like it's got to be boring for them,
Yeah. So you said you've been like this way since you were young, right?
I've always been like this. Always.
Like, I think I brought it up before on your IG. You've got a picture of you hustling some. What were you selling out? Was that baseball cards?
No, that was the comic books.
Comic books, yeah, dude. Hustling.
I'm not even into comic books either, man. Like that was just the thing, man. Like,
how old were you in that picture?
Like 4.
Jesus.
Like 4 years old, man.
See, that's what I'm talking about, though. Like from a young age, you've already started to develop in a good way, not in a bad way. I don't want this to sound negative. You've started to develop somewhat of a social disconnect from the general crowd of people.
Yes, 100%. And I've always liked that. I've always, did the comic books and I sold baseball cards and things of that nature. Just whatever I could get that I could flip and try to make a profit on, I would try to do it. I thought it was just really cool that you could get something for one price and sell it for another price. Yeah. That was amazing.
And I, for myself, like, just a little bit here, like, obviously, I'm aspiring as an entrepreneur. I don't have my own personal business yet. But it's the fact that I am only 24 years old. However, I've never really had that early adult life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I didn't go out and do the partying. I don't go out and do the partying. I never really got into the drinking scene. I never got out into the, disappear for 2 weeks at a time and go hike in the fucking Washington Mountains or anything like that.
With Sasquatch or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I've never gotten to the squatching with Bobo or anything like that, or Bilbo, whatever his name is. But, I never got into that. I've always just had this desire to just, I guess, develop my own ideas.
Well, like you and I were on the phone last night, I had a phone call with a big media company and stuff like that at like 5:30, and then me and you were on the phone at like 6:30 talking business and going over Spotify and going over SoundCloud, and that's the kind of stuff that really most people are not going to do. They're really worried about watching Netflix and binge watching and shit like that.
I can't. It's just not why I'm not. I'm just not wired that way. Now here's the thing, like, no matter what, like, you can't really just all of a sudden turn it off. It doesn't just stop. No. There's no switch for it, and that's what people don't get.
No, people don't get that, and you're right, man. You nailed it right there. There is no on and off switch. It's like when I wake up, I'm on, and that's just the way it is until I go to sleep, which is I don't sleep a lot.
If you ever sleep.
I don't sleep a lot. You know that, and everybody that knows me knows that, but I'm constantly, because there's always something in my head, man. What can be next? What is the next thing? Like, what could I be doing more? Like, there's somebody out working me. It's like an obsession,
dude.
Man.
You got to work.
It really is.
You work 24/7 like there's someone else trying to take your job and your company from you. That's how
even
you
if you're so-called successful, it doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't scratch the itch. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, the itch never goes away, I feel like.
Exactly. And how much sleep did you get last night? Let's hit that first.
What did I do last night?
How much? Yeah. Let's just go over. You said you don't get a lot of sleep. That's just kind of a proven thing. I think most entrepreneurs, that are legit, sacrifice hours of sleep. So let's hit on that.
Yeah.
You've had your share of success. Now you're still hitting it. You're still up at night doing your shit. How much sleep did you get?
I got about 1 hour to maybe hour and a half, something like that. But here's the thing. Like, this is what was exciting, because Spotify approved me for like beta ads. So I was like, hell yeah, man. So I was like really concentrating on that. I was really concentrating on SoundCloud advertising, just like new voice stuff and new music stuff and just stuff that excites me, man, more than it probably should. Like, normal person wouldn't get excited about that, but I get like stupid excited, man. Like, it makes me like really happy, man. But I'm by myself at the same time, dude, so
I mean, dude's sitting here with a big grin on his face. I mean, you guys got to see the excitement, but that's completely understandable, though, man. I'm stoked for the audio ads, and then outside of the audio ads too, there's a few other cool voice activated ads. We'll just put it that way.
Like some cool stuff. Like after last night having a phone call, man, like it changed my mindset on a few different advertising things. And you know how like advertising gets me all giddy and shit. It's weird.
So
it's weird, man. That's the key word here. Entrepreneurship is lonely and fucking weird.
That's the best. Yeah. Fucking weird. Yeah.
That's it, man.
So at night, we kind of talked about this a little bit here. We've mentioned lack of sleep. So obviously, we're talking nighttime here. You're going to spend a lot of nights up by yourself. That's like the second major key point of being lonely as an entrepreneur. Like, you're going to spend a lot of damn time sitting there at night because your mind is not stopping.
You're going to sit there, and not only at night, it's a lot of times in the daytime. I'll catch myself, even during conversation. It sounds terrible, but I'll be like, wandering off thinking about something else when somebody's talking to me. That's, it sounds very rude, but it's just, I can't help it, man. Like, I'm always constantly thinking about what the next step is. And at night, it's like really bad because, you're just by yourself. You're sitting there, and like anything that can possibly come up in your brain, like, it's there, man. Like, you got to address it and you got to figure it out. And I love the idea of figuring shit out, especially myself.
I've noticed, previously, but like when I first started working, you'd pop in the office and we'd, be going over ads or something real quick, and then it's just like I'd be talking, but then it's just like all of a sudden I noticed it's like you were there physically, but like you were seeing right past me, like into the air, and I'm like, if I just take off with this sentence and start saying random things, I wonder if he'll notice.
Yeah, probably not.
But
man.
But you know what, man? That's the thing is like I instantly knew he's got something on his mind. Like I can physically tell, and I think that can be said for like most entrepreneurs. We're not ignoring you. It's just the wheel is constantly spinning, and if it just happens to spin a little bit faster, don't be mad.
Well, and sometimes it's like, man, you might have this idea that is on your brain at that specific moment, and you gotta go with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like right there. You got to act upon it quickly.
And that's kind of like the first little sub point on the second main one is that you're constantly thinking about the next move. Always, man, and it never stops. And on top of that, it kind of parlays into thinking of how you're going to execute it. Like,
yes,
you're always thinking about like, I've got my next idea. How can I do it better?
Yeah. How can you execute this? And how can you like because I think the fun part of this for me is, you know, the climb of growing a business where it's not like, you know, trying to get so much success or whatever it may be. It's more of the climb there, and how you can, you know, get past certain barriers and things like that to grow something that didn't exist before. You're taking something that didn't exist and you're trying to, you know, maneuver that into something that is a so-called success, right? Like it's hard to really think about, but it's a truth.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I followed you through that entire thing, and I agree it is the truth. But what was playing through my head was it's like The Climb by Miley Cyrus, because you're like, it's the climb, and then
Dude,
it immediately started.
Miley was my inspiration for that whole last line I just said right there.
I was sitting here and like that sadly was.
I'm not gonna lie, it came through my head too. I don't know why. That's probably because I said it's a climb. Yeah.
But hey, you know what? Whatever. It's
but
cool.
It is though.
Motivational Miley.
Motivational Miley. But yeah, it should be like. I think if you have it as an entrepreneur from birth, you're gonna feel that way. You're always gonna love that climb in a sense. I'm gonna keep saying the climb. You're gonna love that. That's just what it is.
So for this next podcast, can I wear a blonde wig? Just be like,
absolutely, man.
Cool.
You kind of do have one right now,
dude. I know I need a haircut real bad, but I think the best way to put it would be that, you know, you've got more thought on business health rather than social inclusion. So you think more about the health of the business, more about the climb per se,
yes,
rather than including yourself in activities like, oh, hey, let's go shopping, or hey, let's go out to dinner and see all the people that I really don't care about.
Yeah, it's not that I don't care about the people. Like, I wouldn't say that. It's just like, none of that shit interests me, man. It's not that interesting.
That would be a better way to put it.
You know, yeah.
That sounds less dickish.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, I do care about people. Like, I definitely care about people. And I think that shows, you know, in the business and things like that. And that's another reason to drive you is you have a lot of people. Like, we have 100 and, you know, whatever, 40 people now. And it's like, you know, I got all the people underneath me that I have to essentially make sure their jobs are secure. So, like, in my thought process, it's always going because I got to make sure that I'm, you know, I guess in a sense, taking care of that.
I guess a better way to say that would have been like less favoritism for the social interaction.
Exactly. Yeah, less favoritism.
And instead of saying don't care. And not even like, well, we can tell that wasn't the best way for me to word that.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, you're saying like if somebody's like, hey, let's go out bowling on Friday night. Honestly, dude, I mean, like, I like to bowl and stuff like that, but yeah, I would rather be learning more being in my own head, to be honest with you. And that's where the loneliness comes from. Entrepreneurship is a lonely sport. It's a lonely sport, man. If you look at it as a sport, it's fucking lonely.
That it is. And the thing is, as a lonely sport, you know, you do have a friend there in the loneliness aspect of it, and it's kind of like your driving motivation. And I think a lot of people have it, and it's the chip that's on their shoulder.
Dude, and I've got one. If you listen to the first podcast, you can kind of, you know, go back through how I've built a lot of the stuff that I've built and, you know, kind of see what I went through. And, dude, I've had a giant chip on my shoulder from, like, dude, honestly, back when I was 4 years old, man. Like, I had that chip on my shoulder then. And that chip is, like, it grows every year. Like, every year I want something. How can I do something new and succeed with that? And that chip is like it becomes your friend in a way. Mm-hmm. It's like that loneliness becomes like this little imaginary chip that's just like driving you, dude. It's just driving you like crazy.
It's your driving factor towards obsession.
It is your driving factor. That's a good word, man. Like, you literally become obsessed, man. And like, I think you kind of get it now too, man. You being so young, being 24, it's like you kind of understand. You've been here for, you know, what, 4 or 5 years now or something like that. And it's like, I think you get it, man. You get what it takes. Yeah. It's not an easy process, you know. It's not for the norm. No. And I think, you know, for me, the adjustment wasn't even necessarily for myself so much as it was my wife. Oh, it's tough on the family, man.
She didn't, you know, like at night when I come home, you know, yes, I've developed essentially a routine. I am OCD, so you know, it's hard for me to even say that. Like, yes, I have a routine for like literally everything. So like at the end of the night, when I'm sitting there on my phone, finally, you know, she doesn't get. I'm working. I'm looking at emails. I'm looking at social stats. I'm looking at the back end of, you know, platform ads and
exactly.
How are things working out? And it's just like that's my obsession now. It's like I have a goal, like, you know, I have several driving factors and I have goals, and how am I going to get here? Well, this is kind of my path to it, and sitting here watching Netflix isn't going to do it for me.
But would you say, let me ask you this, would you say that you were naturally that way? Would you say that? Or,
I've
do you
always,
feel like you've grown?
I will say, like, that's kind of a, for me, that's, yes, I've always been that way, but not in those necessary respects. Like, in high school, I never had the drive to just do homework and blah 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 blah. Like, I was too focused on things outside of that.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, how can I do this, or how can I do this? And then I'd be constantly researching it. Like,
sure.
And then I guess that evolved into work. Like, I never knew, if you would have told me in high school, like, hey, you're going to enjoy like marketing and advertising and like actually growing brands and business, I would have told you, no way, dude. That's not me. When in reality, that's what I was already consumed with. I just didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what it was.
Slapping you in the face, but you didn't even realize it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know it until I tried to dip my toes in the water of college and realized that was a waste of money. And, you know, that's
another
really
topic we can go on for sure. Like, man, we can do a whole podcast on that.
You talk about feeling lonely when you're sitting in a class full of people that are trying to like learn the drive that you already have.
Yeah.
And you're already singled out.
And the drive isn't learned. That's kind of the
thing.
That's the
born
point
with it.
Yeah, you're kind of. I think I really do believe that. And I know a lot of listeners are like, "Oh, that's bullshit and this and that." But dude, like, I know for a fact, like, I wasn't given many gifts in life, but that might be the one gift and one downfall. I was driven for that from the beginning, man. I
think what people call ADD and ADHD, dude, I think that's a gift.
I think it's a gift outside of school. Now, in school, it's terrible.
Yeah, in school, they're going to tell you, oh, man, medicate. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, no. You've got a gift. It's just that you need to realize where your gift is, I guess, best dealt.
Exactly. I would say this. Let me add this. So I would say, well, we talked about the climb, and that's like, this is where it gets really lonely. Man. So you have this whole climb of trying to, you know, grow something, you know, and you have this drive of growing something. You spend, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years growing something. And then your people around you will be like, oh, it was a success. It's done multi-millions of dollars. Dude, like, you feel like literally no gratification from that. Like, I feel none. It's like, what can I do next to prove a next point to the chip on my shoulder? Okay, once that gets there, what can I do next? You never really feel that great about it. It is, you know, like, it's a really strange feeling. Like, the material shit does not matter to me.
You know, I mean, dude, carbon copy of that statement through and through. Like, I guess I'm what I call goals and stuff. Like, I know as soon as I get there, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, this isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's not even for like the material possession. I think it's for the, like, I guess the mental high.
Yes.
But the bad part is that mental high, like, it lasts for about a day, and then after that, you're like, okay, well, I'm through with that. This is great. On to the next one.
The mental high is like the growing aspect of a business to me.
Exactly.
Or the growing of anything, you know, and that could be tough on a family too, man. Like, you know, we both have family lives. Like, it's tough because your mind is elsewhere a lot of times. I mean, that's how I am, dude. And my wife, you know, thank God I've got the wife I do, and she puts up with my bullshit. But, you know, it's constantly on, like we said, man. And it can get lonely.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally about the only way you can put it, is to say it can get lonely, because if you're, you know, given, you know, my other half, she doesn't necessarily understand it just yet, but I've noticed some similar attributes in her. Like, she flips like children's clothing. So I know she's got that business side of her. Yeah. Like, I know she's got it because I've seen her go through these Facebook like BST, buy sell trade groups, and I've seen her, you know, I can say I've witnessed my bank account drop. And then the thing is like, you know, immediately I'll be like, oh shit, like, that's a lot of money. But then at the end of the week, she's quadrupled that. Yeah. And I'm like, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing? Like, let's connect over this. Let's talk about it, because I think this is so cool that you can flip baby clothes.
Dude, Facebook groups are where it's at right now, that kind of stuff. It's crazy, like, dude. You can make some serious cash.
Like this hat that I've got on right now that says Rags.
Yeah.
That Rags to Riches thing that was on Shark Tank or whatever.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Like
it,
that
yeah.
that brand blew up. It all used to be handmade. Now it's
Right.
obvious, it's outsourced, blah blah blah. But I've seen her go and get these rags shirts or onesie romper things, and I've seen her turn around and sell them of upwards of like I've seen her get $400 before.
Damn.
For
But that's something built in her though. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
and
that's just like that's why it can be lonely, but then sometimes, hey, you can find that little connect. Some in some places you can find it, and it's awesome.
Well, again, it's lonely. It's not in the fact like I'm taking the word lonely as like
It's not like
it's not being lonely as in like you just want to like
we're not talking like emo lonely.
Right. You're not talking like emo lonely. I'm talking about you sacrifice a lot of going out and friends and things like that because your mindset is just totally different.
More like social enjoyment. That's a very hard thing for me to do, is enjoy being out in a social setting. I'll be completely honest. I struggle with it because I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we gonna do next? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like how long are we gonna be here, and what time are we gonna be home so I can get on my laptop?
Yeah. Exactly, man. That's it. That's me to a T, man. Like out in the quote real world, it's not my thing, man. Like I'm wanting to figure out what the next thing is. It's all about that for me, man. It's like it's the sport of entrepreneurship, and that's the real sport of entrepreneurship, not the fake. I'm an entrepreneur on Facebook, or Instagram or whatever, and you put a title up, but you don't do shit. That shit kind of annoys me.
He's probably talking about my Instagram bio.
See, your Instagram bio. That's okay though. You're actually in a legit business that's like doing something. You know
exactly. What I mean? So, I mean, I think we could go. I mean, this is one of those topics we could go on and on and on about because I see. I'm struggling to get this part out because it's like you said, we're not trying to say that being an entrepreneur as a whole is like turning you into a recluse. We're not saying it like that, but it's like you're going to experience these mental gymnastics where you've got to realize that, hey, it's okay. Like there are a handful of other people like you out there. If you are a legitimate entrepreneur, like if you're feeling the sense of loneliness, like don't let it I guess to kind of like give it a bridge towards the end of this is just like, don't let it give you negative vibes. Like don't let it affect you. Like if you ever start to second guess yourself, like, oh, I'm not going out, or oh, I'm not seeing friends and shit, like don't let that bother you, dude. Like you're on the right grind.
Yeah, you have to understand that you're a little different. I mean, that's going to be, and it took me honestly, dude, 30 years to realize like that's just the way I am, man. That's the way I'm wired, and that's how it's going to be. And it's just a different way of life, man. Yeah. It is a select few, like you said. What was it, 95.64 or something? It's probably more like 99.5. Like the people that ever get to $10 million in a business is something like 0.0005% of all business owners. It's something crazy. So when you're building something big like this, you have to almost have something inside you that's going to really drive you to be obsessed to do something to make it work.
Yeah, and here's one. I know we didn't really have this outlined, or it may not necessarily even be like a really good point. And I know I'm like jumping right back into the whole idea of lonely. If you think you're inside your head with just creating ideas and you think entrepreneurship is where you want to be and stuff, keep in mind that there are going to be setbacks and there's going to be shit that happens, and essence, there's going to be failure. Know
Absolutely.
that, and know that if you think that it's lonely when you're coming up with the grand ideas, know that those moments, you know what? Those are the moments where you feel.
Well, you're by yourself then because it's your business, right? It's your business. You got to fix those, and it's on you, man. It's all on you. And I personally love that, dude. But a lot of it's putting out fires, man. Every day putting out fires.
He's saying putting out fires, but what I was alluding to was sweeping out water.
Yeah. That's one of them. That's one of many, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was heading back to is like over the course of the last year. I mean, if we look back at the last year cumulatively, dude, like there was a lot of like just like in your own head type shit going on.
Oh,
I mean,
time.
hardcore, because
big time.
The flood, the mitigation, the facility that was almost done. The loss of everything, and now here we are stronger than ever.
Here we are stronger than ever, man. And this is like, this podcast isn't to get you to not be an entrepreneur. Like by all means, try it, but I also want to be honest too and be like, if you're going up against, I'm not trying to be cocky here, but if you're just a norm and you're going up against me, it's gonna be very tough because I'm gonna outwork you. And that's just the God's honest truth. I'm gonna be obsessed with it, and if you're not obsessed with it, you're not gonna be able to compete.
No,
and it's very tough.
And the thing is, it's okay to admit that to yourself. Like you don't have to label yourself an entrepreneur and go out and start your own business and shit. Like you don't have to. It's okay to have, I guess, a desk job if you want that. It's okay to have a manual labor job if you want that. Like nothing against that. And if that's for you, cool. But don't force yourself to be something you're not. And then ultimately, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it goes to being you.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do what you're built to do. I really think that. I mean, because if you are just trying to force yourself to be an entrepreneur, and you want to own your own business, man, and this loneliness shit it kicks in, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, if you're not used to being on your own, or if you're not used to, and that's even to say like mentally, like if you're not used to it, just, just as a word of advice, just avoid it. It's just not for you.
It's just not for you. That really is the truth, man. If you don't have it in you and you don't, I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a way to learn it. I guess you could maybe learn it, but it's just, I'm not there where I can say it's, you can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know because I'm the way I am. That's all I can really speak on.
It's easier if it's just genetically, like if you're genetically predisposed to it, it's just easier.
Agreed, man, 100%. And this has been like the loneliest podcast we've ever done. And we probably won't do another one like this. It's so lonely, but
you know what though?
This was like Akon with the damn lonely song.
I've still got Miley Cyrus stuck in my head. And you want to know though? Let's go on the the end note here. The whole point of this podcast wasn't to sound depressing, which I'm sure for the majority of listeners, like if you've made it here to the end, they're probably like, "Shit, dude." Like, that is some deep stuff. Yeah, it's deep, but it's just like, it's the truth. Like, we're not saying it with negative connotations or anything. No. I'm sitting here happy as a peach. Like,
yeah, I'm happy. It's just, we want you to understand what it's like. Like, I'm a real entrepreneur.
I'm a wantrepreneur.
No, man, you're becoming an entrepreneur, man.
I got into my Instagram bio and everything.
You got it in your Instagram bio. You're good, So I just think it's, something that should be told because everybody thinks it's all peaches, man. It's all good. Like, everything's good. You're going to drive the Ferrari. You're going to do this and that. And, like, if you really have it, you're probably not even really worried about shit like that. You're worried about your next move in business.
Yeah.
I think that's enough really said at that point.
Exactly. But, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. We tried to, I guess, kind of change the flow up a bit. Mm-hmm. I know you and I are trying to get better about not cutting each other on and off in sentences, like letting each other speak.
Yeah, that's a tough thing for us, man.
I try to not sound so politically correct, which that's the weirdest comment I've ever been told is that I sound like a PC.
It is, yeah.
But anyway, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or, just anything in general that you want to ask us or say about this podcast, remember that if you're listening to this on YouTube, drop a comment down below. If you happen to be on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or any of the other social aggregators, make sure that you just DM Dustin across any of his social platforms, which is going to be Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Freaking all kinds of Vero, all kinds of shit.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. I saw you post that. I had to go look up what Vero was. But, yeah, guys, just DM questions or anything, if you'd like to hear a podcast over it or potentially even a,
thing.
Yeah. Video.
One last thing too, guys. If you do email me or hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and you have something that you want me to do, I am a pretty busy guy, and I try to reply to everybody, and I have replied to everybody. But if I'm not gonna do exactly what you ask, I'm gonna be honest with you. So don't send me back something saying you're disappointed or whatever the case may be. It's just I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be frank with you. If you ask me something and I can't do it, I'll say I can't do it, rather than just bullshit you. So. That's just a point I wanted to get out there. I've got a few of those lately, and
yeah,
there's no reason to be disappointed if I can't, go to dinner with you or something like that.
You know what, man? I guess that's I don't even get me started on that because I'll go off on those type of people.
Next week, man.
That's next week's. You know what? Cool. We'll call next week's episode Optimism.
Let's do that. Optimism and dinner.
Exactly. But anyway, guys, I'm Austin. Thank you for tuning in this week.
I'm Dustin. We'll catch you later.
Bye.